know from your program are having the opportunity to hear from Savanna Riker, and I want to tell you a little bit about her. She was the first youth community spiritual leader in the United Organization from 2002 to 2006. She, despite completing high school and moving into college, absolutely embraced the youth, offering workshops, youth camps, speaking at Asilomar, speaking in our centers and communities, always about the importance of youth in our communities and in the world. She's traveled and spoken to study groups in London, as well as supporting Reverend Barbara Leger in the Ukraine as a speaker, a teacher, and a young adult facilitator. This young woman has more stamps in her passport than probably most of us together. 2 years ago, she became a licensed religious science practitioner, the youngest at Mile High Church. And at that time, she immediately entered Holmes Institute and is now in her second year of ministerial school. So most recently, we've been able to follow Savannah on Facebook as she served at the SOM Russian Conference on the Red Sea and then spent 7 months in Cairo, giving us almost daily updates on the political uprising occurring there as she was holding consciousness in that space. In the fall of 2012, she moved to the Ukraine, and she was teaching and participated in the paneling of 11 new Ukrainian practitioners at their annual conference. And while she has, for a young person, such an impressive bio, it doesn't do justice to explain the heart of who she is. I am incredibly fortunate to have called her a friend since she was 16 years old, and she continues to show me the way. So please join me in an incredibly warm welcome for Savanna Riker.
Hey. Hey. This is incredible. Здравствуйте, salam alaikum, and good evening to all of you. Wow. I just got to take this in for a second. So our greatest growth is sometimes revealed to us through the darkness, in moments where we feel separate and uncertain, unsure of what is next and what's happening. Yet those are the most profound and transformational moments of our lives. On January 25th, 2012, I stood in the midst of thousands of young Egyptians in Tahrir Square in Cairo, Egypt, marking the 1-year anniversary of their revolution. And the experience was exhilarating. It was incredible. It was exciting. And the feeling in the air was this nervousness and celebration and accomplishment, success. And it was truly a moment that I will never forget as this little sardine in the midst of thousands of people. Yet what I won't forget the most is the energy in the air was just this feeling of possibility, of opportunity, and of greatness. So that's what I want to share with you, is how do we step into our greatness? How do we be greater channels of love on the planet? What does it take within us individually and collectively to do that? And it starts with moving beyond our comfort zone, into the unknown, coming to the edge of the known, into the unknown, so that the known can make itself available to us. And that means stepping out of our comfort zones of our communities, refusing to play small. We speak of a global heart vision of a world that works for everyone and that we want to reach 100 million people. Yet if we want to be on the world stage, we got to play big. So if we want to be a greater presence in the world, we have to actually take steps to do that, not just talk about it. I spent this last year living in one of the hottest spots on the planet, and I sensed this feeling of this hunger for personal freedom, to feel connected, to feel loved, to feel empowered, to feel moved, to feel supported and uplifted. The Vedic Rishi said, "You are not in the world is in you." And so being great in the world is really about stepping out of our comfort zone of who we think we are, who we should be, and allowing ourselves to go boldly into the world. And that means we have to do our own work. And we've talked about this over the last few days. It's interesting, I put my talk together 2 weeks ago, and I thought, are people prepared to hear what I have to say? And yet over the last few days, I had snippets of the little points that I wanted to present tonight, and it was like, yeah, this is good. This is good. We have to do our own work. And that means looking at the disowned aspects of ourselves, the parts within us that may need to be integrated. I actually had to be pulled out of my comfort zone into the unknown to really touch humanity at its core of wanting to belong. Because in the world, everything shows up unlike the joy, the peace, the love, the harmony, the oneness that we see, and it shows up for us to transform and heal and reveal more of that. I use my experience in Egypt as a reflection of the shadow to heal the parts within myself that maybe I didn't like, because the consciousness in Egypt was so heavy that it forced me to have to look at myself. There were no distractions. I couldn't go out there to get that. I couldn't look outside of myself to get that. I had to really see myself. And it was such an incredible opportunity, really. And I recall back in December, I was in Egypt for the month, and it was a pretty violent month. And I couldn't leave my apartment for a few days because I was downtown and it wasn't really safe. But as I came out into Tahrir Square, what I noticed all around me is the desensitization that people are experiencing of seeing the tanks and the armed men and the barbed wire and the fires burning in the streets. And I had this moment of just clarity of like, wow, what is this showing me? What is this showing me about maybe the parts in myself that are at war with each other? I had to ask questions like, how can I still be my full radiant self? How can I be the light in all this darkness and this craziness? In a country that marginalizes women, where 83% of women are harassed every day on the streets, never reported, where 98% of foreign women are harassed daily, never reported, when we don't feel safe on the streets. I had to ask the question, how do I see unity here in the midst of this, where in all appearances and condition and the world of effects is showing me corruption and war and violence? How do I still stand in the fullness of my light? I think this speaks to all of us. When we're going through a dark night of the soul, we're going through a tough time, how do we really reach in and bring the light forward and learn to integrate the parts of ourselves? What I know is that my presence matters, and your presence matters. And that when we do the work from the inside, we know that the outside shifts and changes. And that's exactly what started to happen for me. The more I did my work and the more I embodied the love and I embodied the peace within myself, the more that's what I was encountering and seeing in the world. It was a true test of my faith, of this philosophy. And I want to share a brief story of Krishnamurti. I love the story that he shared about giving a talk, and a young man came up to him and said, I want peace in the world. I hate war. What can I do to bring about peace? And Krishnamurti looked at him and he said, stop being the cause of war. And the man said, wait, but I'm not in favor of war. I only want peace. And Krishnamurti said, he said, inside you is the cause of every war. It is your violence hidden and denied that leads to wars of every kind, whether it is the war inside your home, the war in your mind, the war in society, or between nations. So being great is stepping out of our comfort zone. It's about doing our own work, and it's about cultivating leaders. I think it's so vital and important that we learn as an organization how important it is to cultivate leaders, specifically in our global ministries and specifically within our youth movement. I was fortunate enough growing up in this 10 years ago to have had great leaders leading the way for me and paving a path for me, but I honestly never had the programs, the training, no leadership really put in place of what does that mean, how do I show up, how do I express. And so it's vital that we learn that we provide that for our young people, because we want to touch millions of lives. We have to encourage and support and empower them to do that. And what would it take as an organization to fully support our ministers that are going out in the field in uncharted territory, learning new languages and about new cultures so that they feel supported and they can maintain something viable and incredible? It's also about taking ownership. Taking ownership as not just religious scientists in the world, but as global citizens. Because America was founded on all of the great world cultures. Owning it and knowing that we are here for a purpose. Learning how to go beyond the religious science jargon and learning how to meet people where they are. If anything, that's one thing that has been so incredible being out in the world, is that I realized I couldn't use all the fancy jargon. I had to really how to learn about culture and custom and tradition, and how do we give people the tools, not only in the world, but in our own local communities in the United States of America. How do we reach them? And lastly, stepping into our greatness, we truly make a difference. Some of our CSL communities are already doing this. They're out in the world doing incredible things. Our global services is awesome. And my passion truly is to be the bridge. It is to be the bridge between culture, religion, custom, learning those things, and really going beyond who I think I am. So my call to action for you this day is, are you willing to be a leader within your own life, within your communities, and out in the world? Are you willing to step into your greatness? Are you willing to do your own work? Are you willing to step out of your comfort zone and come to the edge? Into the unknown? And are you willing to let go of the idea that you have to know what is next in order for the radiant, dynamic, loving embodiment of love as your life show up as the known? Are you willing? Because I truly am. I'm excited to know where this is going. I'm excited for what's next, and I am so grateful and honored to have had this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.